All right, if everyone who's just coming in can grab your seats, we're getting started in just a few seconds. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Velocity Pitch Competition semifinals for Fall 2023. My name is Tina Wilton. I'm the Entrepreneurship Experience Manager here at Velocity, and I'll be your MC for tonight and tomorrow. We're excited for you to hear from our student teams as they pitch their business ideas in the hopes of winning $5,000. A few housekeeping notes: the stairs in this room are quite loud, so out of respect for our presenters, please avoid climbing up and down the stairs during our presentations. If anyone needs to use the washroom or a water fountain, they are at the far end of the atrium on the left-hand side. Before we begin, the University of Waterloo acknowledges that much of our work takes place on the traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples. Our main campus is situated on the Haldimand Tract, the land granted to the Six Nations that includes 6 miles on each side of the Grand River. Our active work towards reconciliation takes place across our campuses through research, learning, teaching, and community building, and is coordinated within the Office of Indigenous Relations. This term, we had over 100 applicants covering a range of ideas across all University of Waterloo faculties. Our reviewers narrowed the field to 24 semi-finalist teams who will pitch over the next 2 evenings. At the end of this round, 8 lucky teams will be informed that they're moving on to the finals on November 30th, where they'll pitch to a new panel of judges, and 4 of them will be awarded $5,000 in grant funding to grow their business live at the Theatre of Arts. Tonight you'll hear from 13 teams. Each will have 3 minutes to pitch their business idea, followed by 3 minutes of Q&A with our judges. And speaking of the judges, we're going to introduce them now. Parisa Hamilton is not only an employee of Velocity, but also an alumnus from the University of Waterloo. Parisa is Velocity's Product Development and Biosafety Manager. Please welcome Parisa. Chris Reed, a University of Waterloo alumnus, has founded and scaled 4 software startups spanning from consumer web to insurance over the past 23 years, and has had multiple successful exits and scaled ventures from scratch to mid-8-figure revenues. He is focused on nailing the right product, positioning, and acquisition channels, all with a data-driven approach and a strategic mindset. Please welcome Chris. Chong Shen is the co-founder of Alchemy, an advanced materials company engaged in 3 different business sectors. As not only a University of Waterloo alumnus, but as CTO, Chong was responsible for developing an MVP, evaluating product market fit, product refinement, scale-up supply chain, manufacturing, and managing fulfillment in over 50 countries. He was also responsible for government grants, intellectual property, internal budgeting, and jointly responsible for fundraising for Alchemy. Please welcome Chong. Thank you again to our judges for lending us their time and expertise this evening. Here is the order of pitches for tonight. ACIT, Burble, Blackbird, Limbitless Bionics, Mapmate, OneBuy, and Oscar, followed by a brief intermission, and then Plantal Support, Pliant Tech, Quip Medical, Rex, SpinStop, and Student Mustache. All right, so we're going to get started with our pitches. Our first team tonight helps educators in K-12 create gamified content in 30 seconds or less. Here is ACIT, led by Pashan Sidwa, an undergraduate in mechanical engineering. Welcome, Pashan.
Thank you, Tina. So ACIT, imagine a classroom where 2 out of 4 students are simply just left behind. That's not because they can't learn. It's simply because teaching methods can't fulfill their personal needs. This leads students to actually spending time outside of their classroom looking for content that personally engages them, because everyone is unique and everyone learns differently. All students over here can agree to this. So what are we doing at ACID? We're giving you your own AI study buddy, Quizzy, who helps you generate flashcards in less than 30 seconds on any topic. You simply give it a prompt, and it gives you these flashcards. And we support over 95 different languages. Not only this, you can learn a new language as well. We're also giving you access to a user-generated content library, which is made by fellow students, helping one another learn as well. This is actually Quizzy in action. This was taken a week ago at Kids Coding Academy in Toronto. It's super cool. These kids are 7 to 9 years old, and why is this important? We're using active recall with these flashcards. They're able to learn a brand new language. They're coding in HTML, for example. They're learning this on the fly while tracking their progress through these flashcards. It's super cool to see something like that in action. What are we trying to do now? We're trying to create a strong network effect for these educators. Educators can simply join our platform, create this engaging content, share it through the platform as well to other students, and at the same time, they're able to give us feedback. They can give us curriculum needs, tailor their flashcard to what they're teaching live in class, and then send these flashcards out as well. So our market. The edtech market is booming right now, especially with AI. It's supposed to reach $218 billion by 2027. And out of that, we're capturing $300 million in Canada and the United Arab Emirates. So for version 1, we had 1,000 plus users, 4.8 stars out of 5 on iOS, and now we're working on version 2 with 400 plus users on iOS and 100 teachers interested as well. What did we learn? We learned that peer engagement rose as a result with Quizzy, and we just launched out of BuildSpace, being one of the top 32 contestants out of 17,000 people. Not only this, we're actually a very comprehensive and personalized experience platform. Why do we do this? We have a large context database that's helping students learn easy and hard topics. We don't want to sort of fill the gap in between. And this can be taught to kids from ages 5 all the way until high school. So our business model, we're a subscription-based business model with freemium, pro, and an educator plan as well. That's a bit about our team. I'm Pashan. We have Jay here as well, and Alex, who is our CTO. Both of them are from UFT. And that's a bit about ACID. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. And that's a QR code to our website. Feel free to check it out, and hope you guys use the app. I'd like to hand it over to Jay.
Hi, my name is Jay Mansakhani. I'm the other co-founder of ACID. Sorry for coming a little late. I was on a 1.5-hour drive from Toronto, and the driver just stopped outside 10 minutes ago. So yeah, I'm more than happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Tell me about your acquisition channels and how you drive this to 10,000 users.
Yeah, so more or less our acquisition channels are focused strongly on social media. That's the biggest channel that we've had. We've only been acquiring customers through social media. But again, it depends, right? So we're also using some paid advertising. This is through Instagram, TikTok, just to see what works and what doesn't. But the highest acquisition rate we've got is through social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok. To scale this to 10,000 users, obviously school partners come into play. So we're focused. We also have a B2B model as it's for educators. Once we acquire more schools, we get the customers directly from that as well.
Where's the gamified part of this, or is it just flashcards? And I guess my second question to that is, you mentioned you're targeting K to 12, but in your example for kids that are 7 to 9-year-old, are flashcards actually the best way to help them learn?
Yeah. So to break down the question a little bit, our main focus is that the flashcards that are generated are gamified flashcards. So you track the progress, you see how well you're doing, and you can monitor your progress right after that. So the gamified element in this perspective is to see, once you generate a flashcard, it's really simple, because you just enter the topic you want for the prompt. Our model tries to understand the context database, sees what topic you're looking at, and then generates a gamified set of flashcards for you to practice. In terms of what Pashan said and the competition barrier, we're really good at differentiating between the same topic for kids all the way to people who are in high school, because that's how it works, right? So in that perspective, we look at, for example, in the example where we had kids aged 7 to 9 using it for HTML, it simplified the context for them to understand it in a better way. And how they were using that active recall component was that it's forcing them to remember something rather than seeing the answer directly. So flashcards are the best overall solution for this. That's why we decided to go for that in the gamified sector.
During your customer discovery, have you talked to schools or parents, kids? Have you talked and what results?
Yeah, so right now we're demoing in 2 schools in Toronto. We have 1 paying customer already for the educator plan. And we're really pushing on the focus of trying to acquire as many schools as possible for them to demo the product. So how the demo process works is we go to the school, see what topics they're teaching in the classroom, see if we have similar context according to them, and then we also demo the product with the students. So the demo that you saw in Kids Coding Academy, it was actually during a class that was happening for HTML. So they just specified the topic and we were going through each barrier to make sure that the students were understanding it accurately with the product. And school partnerships are really big for us. We've spoken to over 110 teachers. So like we know exactly what their needs are in specific to how we can tailor the product according to them. So yeah.
That's great. Thank you. So,
Thank you.
Burble is a secure way for enterprises and government agencies to host and connect AI models on premises or on cloud, so organizations don't have to trust third parties with their sensitive data. Pitching for Burble is Om Gandhi, an undergraduate student in honors mathematics at the Faculty of Math. Welcome.
Over the past year, we've seen tons of capital invested in this new industry called generative AI that seemingly blends the human mind with machine capabilities. It's really a transformative technology. So why are our government agencies not using this innovative and amazing tool? We're seeing this not just in Canada, but also in the US and the EU. Just 2 weeks ago, President Biden issued an executive order worrying about AI's risks on using data privacy. It turns out there's a bunch of bylaws, regulations, and guidelines that prohibit organizations like Ontario Health, the CRA, our police, our military, and countless other public servants from using this innovative technology. It's not just the public sector as well. BlackBerry research says that 75% of organizations worldwide are considering or implementing bans on ChatGPT and other generative AI tools. And rightfully so. We saw what happened in 2018 when we trusted big tech companies with our data. It wasn't pretty. And with generative AI, this is amplified. Since these companies are actually incentivized to get as much data as possible, because the best models aren't just the ones with the best algorithms, but the ones that are trained on the most data. That's where Burble comes in. We're building a secure platform for companies, for enterprises and government agencies to build AI apps without sharing any sensitive data with third parties, and even without writing a single line of code. Customers can give Burble context from a bunch of different data storage and communications tools, as well as build these data pipelines via drag and drop interface so non-technical people can use AI safely and securely. In this example, where someone's using Burble to answer customer support queries instantly given context from user manuals and other documentation. The best part, Burble is interoperable. This means that the data and the models are hosted on our customer servers or on premises. This way, the customer owns the data, intelligence, and infrastructure, and there's no third-party access, including us, and especially these AI model companies. Customers can deploy these models in minutes or hours without worrying about license agreements, compliance regulations, anything, or company secrets getting in the wrong hands. Other players in the market include Palantir, who don't offer as flexible of a solution as our pipeline builder. There's also startups such as Gradient who've built a software development kit. for technical teams that make it that take weeks to set up and aren't accessible for non-technical teams. After all, Waterloo's tech talent goes to Silicon Valley after graduating, not Service Canada's IT team. We've put in a lot of work to build an intimate understanding of this problem. This is what my calendars looked like over the past 2 weeks, and I'm just the CTO. Overall, we've spoken to 150 people, we've closed 1 sale, and we're hoping to close 4 more. Our CEO is a previous founder and also previously worked at the Government of Ontario on their data team. He has an intimate understanding of government sales cycles, but also his team was involved with creating the provincial regulations around generative AI. I've spent 3 years working at startups, including an AI company, an AI research/hardware startup, as well as health tech companies. Today, sorry for going a bit over, guys. Happy to take your questions.
First question. Oh, okay. All right, I'll go easy. What's your tagline?
We envision a future where innovative, sorry.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Okay, so you guys are a couple of weeks into this. How much time have you spent on this project?
We've been working together for close to 5 months. The idea has changed and evolved a bit. For this specific idea, we've been working about 2 months.
Okay. Now, my understanding for a lot of the government or large enterprises is that they don't even trust cloud, whether it's AWS or Google. They would rather do a lot of the services themselves. Have you met some of those challenges or heard about those, or what are your solutions around that?
Yeah, it's weird. We found that companies really love cloud. They love AWS. So what we're doing for our one customer is that we've hosted the model and SQL databases on their AWS cluster, for example. But when we've done discovery with government agencies, they seem to prefer on-premises. And an example of this, I don't know if I should say this, but is PHSA, which is Provincial Health Services Authority, which is the Ontario Health equivalent of BC. We're gonna sending a proposal to them in the coming weeks.
So okay. So you can still help them out. It's not like they're not your customer.
Yeah, that's why we're building a way for our customers to host these models and their data on premises as well as on cloud.
So what I can't understand, maybe you can give me some clarity, is I can't understand if well, I'm sure you're 2 really smart guys, and it sounds like you're 2 months in, which means you're probably doing custom work. So what I'm having trouble understanding is what is unique and differentiates you from something else. Are you just taking models off Hugging Face? I'm assuming you're taking a bunch of off-the-shelf stuff and customizing it, but I don't see the business here. You said you have a configurator that's better than the others, but that's not, there's not enough specificity there. So I don't understand what differentiates you.
I'll give an example with government agencies. Currently, the main use case for them is that they're giving a chatbot context on waterloo.ca or waterloo.ca/data. This is an individual project that they choose one vendor for and spends 6 figures plus on it. What we offer instead is a platform for Waterloo, region of Waterloo or city of Waterloo employees to build that tool themselves in a matter of hours or days, rather than individual vendors for each use case. The reason that they're not using tools like OpenAI or ChatGPT is because there's a lot of regulations that prohibit government agencies, especially. Can I finish? That prohibit government agencies, especially, from sharing sensitive data with these companies. In fact, OpenAI just got hacked last week or this week, and some Russia hacker group claimed it. Thank you.
Next, we have Blackbird, a rapid web-based flood mapping solution. They will be represented by Robert Schlumsky, a PhD student in civil and environmental engineering. Please welcome Robert.
Thank you. Okay, welcome everyone. I'd like to talk to you about Blackbird and flooding. There we go. So this is unfortunately an image that is becoming more and more common as time goes on due to both climate change and land use change. In Canada alone, it's estimated that currently about $4 to $7 billion per annum is spent on flood-related damages, and that's a figure that's only projected to increase, I think up to about 17 or 20 billion, depending on which study you look at, and it's not easy to imagine why. This is a picture from BC flooding in 2021, and that was estimated to cost at least $5 billion alone. Just to put you in the hot seat of a flood forecaster for a moment, this is someone whose responsibility is to predict these floods and respond to real time. The input that they get is some sort of meteorological forecast, how much rain is going to come and when. They may have some old notes from the engineer that was in their position in the last 30 years to go off of and try to understand what the flood impacts will be. They may or may not have regulatory maps. These are basically static PDFs of different flood events that they can use to sort of interpolate between and get an idea of where these floods may or may not impact. But I say they may be lucky to have these because in a lot of cases in Canada, these flood maps may not exist, or they may be 20, 25 years out of date, which is not that helpful considering how much changes over time. So this is the information that a lot of flood forecasters in Canada have to go off of when they're making decisions about, will this be a sunny day, or do we need to evacuate this entire town? So what we're working on is the first engineering-based solution to allow real-time flood mapping at scale. This is a capability that does not really exist in Canada currently. The existing, well, part of the problem is that the existing technological solutions that exist range from relatively fast and simple methods to more complex but very slow methods, computationally speaking, and some stuff in between. But there are limitations with all these that prevent it from being done in real time. What we're doing is combining the best of these two methods to maintain speed and accuracy to be able to deploy these in real time and at large scales. There are a handful of competitors in the space right now, some of which offer some real-time solutions, but none of which meet the criteria of being fast enough for real-time, engineering-based, provide live forecasting, and also something that's deployable at large scales. In terms of our business model, we have a number of ways to generate revenue. We have pilots that we set up with individuals and agencies to basically develop these models. We can have annual operations and maintenance contracts, and we can also provide live forecasts for a slightly higher fee that actually generates these forecasts for agencies that don't have the ability or the time to do it themselves. In terms of market opportunity, there's a lot of money going into this in the next few years in both US and Canada. And just to give you one stat here, insurance companies spend about 1.9 billion Canadian annually on paying these flood-related damages, and so they have a very large incentive to understand flood risk. In terms of our timeline, we've had some existing funding. We have a live demo following the Cornerstone program, and we have a $200,000 pilot that we're hoping gets approved in the next little while. Myself and PhD supervisors are involved in this project, so we have a lot of expertise. And in terms of the use of the money, we're hoping to basically continue hiring co-op students and leveraging wage subsidies to do so. So thank you very much.
Thanks for the pitch. Two questions. One, which areas in the world will be your early adopters? Like who you can pilot, who's your pilot right now with, and where you think that they have the most problem during your customer discovery?
Yeah, so in terms of the early adopters, we're looking at the Canadian market right now.
Okay.
Specifically, the provinces and territories, they have a mandate provincially and territorially to do flood forecasting, and because at least from my experience as an engineer, I have connections with these contacts already through various consulting projects, so those will be the early adopters. The pilot I mentioned at the end was with the Yukon government.
Okay, and who will be your customers ultimately? Government, municipalities, who will pay for this?
Primarily at this stage government, but the other large one would be insurance industries. So I mean, there are lots of people that would be interested in flood risk, but forecasters on the government side and insurance industry on the private side, and there may be others like energy companies that would be interested in this as well.
This is very interesting because selling to insurance is very different to selling to government. So this might need a different business model.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I want you to sharpen things up on the insurance side. So I'm just going to say this back to you, see if I have it right. So I'm an insurer. I pay out a lot of claims. I want to reduce the risk I carry, or I want to adjust my premiums to reflect the risk. Step me through how much money you think you can extract from the insurance companies, and why is that revenue stream sustainable, and what's your acquisition channel there?
Yeah, so I mean, a bit to unpack there, but in terms of the insurance side, many insurance companies are interested in basically annual flood maps to say for this, jurisdiction, whether it's a town or a province level, they basically want to have a static set of maps that perhaps get updated every year based on new, land use changes or climate change impacts to say, here are the flood risk zones, here's how they've changed from last year, and they would pay, based on our research, somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000, depending on the jurisdiction every year, to get those flood maps so they can then use that to inform their flood risk. So on the insurance side, that's how that would work.
So they're paying $100,000 per jurisdiction?
Again, depends on the size, but if we're talking about, let's say they want the flood maps for all of Ontario, then $100,000 would be a pretty reasonable annual fee.
And that would be per insurance company?
That's right.
Have you thought of what the total addressable market there is in North America?
I have not given that a lot of thought. I mean, but that being said, if we get 5 or 6 insurance companies, 13 provinces and territories, then we're looking at at least several million a year in revenue right there.
Why you focused on Canada?
Well, just because I understand the Canadian context, the legislation about how these flood maps are generated is a big part of what informs technically what's feasible, and so that's where we're focusing now. That being said, the U.S. would be the next big market. They have some recent products focusing on flood forecasting, where we believe our solution would be better technically, and that would be another market to break into.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Limitless Bionics. Their myoelectric prosthetic hand enables users to train customizable hand gestures directly from their phone, providing more functionality and a greater sense of connection with their prosthesis. Let's welcome Holden Ford, a biomechanical engineering undergrad representing Limitless Bionics.
Meet Aisha. Aisha was born with congenital limb difference, meaning she was born without her right arm. Throughout her life, she's been fitted with a number of prosthetic devices to help make her life easier. However, today she chooses not to use one. This is because her experience has shown her that the devices that exist today are cumbersome and lack the functionality she needs. And she's not the only one. 20% of those with upper limb amputations opt not to get a prosthetic device. 30 to 50% of those with upper limb differences opt not to use their device on regular occasions. However, 74% claim they would use a prosthetic hand if significant technological advancements were made at the right price. Looking at the existing solutions, these responses aren't surprising. Currently, the prosthetic market can be separated into powered and unpowered devices. Unpowered devices tend to be reliable and cheaper, but they lack any sort of fine motor control or any solid functionality. Electric devices were supposed to be the solution to this. They're more expensive and provide a number of preset gestures. However, people still don't have the functionality they need, and these devices can cost up to $100,000. We have a better solution, the Limitless Hand. This hand allows people to train their own gestures in a teach and repeat style. From this, the limb will learn over time and adapt to their life. We believe this will help lower rates of prosthetic abandonment and increase user functionality. This device works using an AI model. We train it based on our data, and then user data is then used to fine-tune the device directly to their life. They can create their own grip patterns in an app and backtrain, and the model is then backtrained to improve efficiency. We aim to sell this device for $10,000. This comes in at the lower end of the prosthetic market. We aim to sell online and through prosthetics clinics. And additionally, we are developing in partnership with both physicians and potential users to create a device that people want and doctors want to recommend. The market for upper limb prosthetics is big. In America, it's over $7 million yearly, and globally, up to $720 million. We can then also apply this technology beyond prosthetic hands to access the $1.59 billion global prosthetic market. By the end of this year, we hope to finish our prototype and data collection. Between 2024 and 2026, we want to complete patient testing and perform iterative design to create the best possible product. In 2026, we aim to apply for both FDA and MDD approval, which will allow us to begin selling our device in Canada and the US starting in 2027. We are a team of 2A biomedical engineering students who are passionate about making a difference with technology and believe that together we can make the future of prosthetics truly limitless. Thank you.
So it would be helpful if you took me through some of the use cases and just, take me through some use cases, explain what the problem is without the device after training, how the use case is different.
Absolutely. So today, if you get a good prosthetic, it will come with generally 5 to 10 predetermined gestures. This will be pointer, maybe an open and closed grip. Basically, people try to generalize the entire prosthetic population to a couple of gestures. I challenge you to try and count how many different things you do with your hands in a day. It's definitely more than 10. People live different lives. They have different uses, playing instruments, playing sports, cooking. These things require different ways to use your hands. The current solution to this is to buy add-ons or get a custom prosthesis for these tasks. This will allow users in a teach and repeat style to create their own hand gesture to fit their needs and then train their arm so it adapts to their life specifically. Basically, instead of treating everyone the same and giving them one arm that fits all, we're trying to create a device that adapts itself to their life.
I see you have a cat design. How much, where are we at in terms of the making the product?
So that is an initial product rendering just for us to get our ideas out of our heads, off the page, onto the computer. This is a relatively new project. We started this semester. We have begun testing with our models. Wallace is our lead on AI there. So he has begun testing with data that we found online. We are looking for funding so we can actually start beginning our prototype to allow us to begin collecting our own data. Some of the EMG sensors that we need are quite expensive. That's why we're here.
And do we have a sense in terms of how much money you need to develop this product and through the FDA approval process, or haven't even gone there yet?
So the FDA approval process and MDD process are a bit different. These generally take like 6 months. They will cost quite a bit of money. Generally, we're thinking about $10,000 to develop our device. Past that, we're not sure at this point.
Just a follow-up question. So I understand, you're focused on the sort of upper limb prosthetic
Yes.
market. And forgive my ignorance, I don't really understand completely how it works, but if you're solving the mobility problem from some point down, right? Mm-hmm. Can you just show me on your hand where you're creating mobility?
That is a more difficult question because we are looking to start with below elbow amputations or limb differences.
Okay.
This gives us a cheaper device we can make. You don't need to include elbow actuators or anything like this, and is a generally big market amongst the upper limb amputations and limb differences. We do hope to then expand to full upper limb loss as well as we can. So over time, it will grow from, if you want, starting here, moving all the way up.
Thanks, that makes a lot more sense now.
Absolutely.
Just one quick question. Mm-hmm. So how quickly can I change my gestures? So if I'm in a use case, I'm cooking or I'm playing an instrument, my phone is changing the gestures. Can I talk to it? How can I interface and really get that?
So
that
the way,
quick?
The way it works is, say this is the prosthetic, you physically form the gesture, save it on the accompanying app, and then you teach it with your own muscle pattern. This will require a couple iterations to make sure that the device has been properly trained, and then you can then go back and train it over time past that. This does require a bit of time. It's not something you can do quite on the fly. However, it is faster than the current adjustment process you have with prosthetics, which generally require a steep learning curve because they're not very intuitive. They require generally one EMG signal triggering for all 5 gestures, and you use a button to switch between them or something like that. So we are hoping to be much faster than the existing solutions and we also hope to not require as much physician help.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Next up, MapMate is a platform that connects food processors to small farmers and provides analytics for sustainable farming operations and traceability for the supply chain in Africa. Pitching on behalf of MapMate is Kweku Chum, a PhD student in sustainability management from the Faculty of Environment.
Hi, everybody. I hope you all like food. So, MapMate, we believe that we can maximize farmer profitability and agro value chain optimization through our product. With MapMate, farmers play a very critical role in what we do. We believe that as far as our food system is concerned, it's very, very important to maximize the opportunities that farmers engage in, and at the same time, optimizing the solution that food processors also are in. In Africa, 33 million of smallholder farmers exist, and they contribute to about 70% of the food supply in Africa. This actually represents about 30% of the GDP in Africa. However, they live below the poverty line. They are not able to make profits from this, despite the supply that they are actually given. Simply because of various challenges that they go through, ranging from food loss or post-harvest losses, crop pest disease attacks, droughts, rainfall pattern challenges, logistics challenges, even sometimes selling out of desperation to middlemen. And in some cases, because of the high production cost, they end up using little children even on the field because of this, of the high costs. On the other hand, there exist the food processors. They are making a lot of money in terms of profits. However, they also find it difficult in terms of engaging these farmers on a very consistent basis, because at the end of the day, the farmers are not available, and so they are not able to even trace their operations. The second problem that these food processors also face is to meet international compliance, because they engage sometimes farmers who are not into responsible farming. Sometimes they run into legal issues. The solution, therefore, is to introduce MapMate. What does MapMate do? MapMate is a customizable real-time platform that supports food processors to maximize their operations. How do we do that? Through our system, we are able to allow food processors to monitor last-mile operations of their farmers, and so through that, we are able to help them build a farmer network. They are able to ensure traceability along their platform or along their operations. Through that, they are able to build consumer trust, because now consumers are able to see exactly where their products are coming from, and also helps them to even ensure or meet international compliance. Similarly, with small farmers, the system also allows them to be active participants on it. Through the system, which is offline and very friendly to remote areas where there's no internet, farmers are able to build their platform or their portfolio on the system, because the language is basic. So through this, they're able to profile themselves, they're able to track their farm operations, they're able to have access to a suite of resources for education and learning, and through this, they're able to have cross-communication and networking with their supporters and build credibility ratings. Our business model is very simple. It is free for farmers, and then for food processors, it is on a tier approach. Our progress and traction has been awesome. Currently, we have onboarded 750 farmers. We have engaged 300 more. We have two food processors that are on paid pilots. We've generated about $5,000. And finally, we expect that by 2026, we should be able to have 15,000 farmers on our platform, reaching a revenue of $50,000. Join us and let's make the agro value chain a success. Thank you.
thanks for the pitch. Who will make money from your platform? Farmers, or how do you make money, and do you help to make money?
Yeah, thank you. So everybody make money, actually.
Okay.
So one of the key revenue points for us is the food processors, because they find it difficult in reaching these farmers. So we help them by building or bridging the gap, and then create the room for them to reach these farmers. And these farmers then, because we give the platform to the farmers for free, they are on the platform, they are more engaging on the platform, and it creates an avenue for these food processors to have a wider reach to these raw material producers that can feed their manufacturing companies. And farmers also get more revenue or profits, because the platform allows them to reach more market points beyond their geography. They are able to market their organic products, and then the fact that they are using organic fertilizer, organic pesticides, in order to reach out to more food processors outside Africa who may be interested in their product, and they can sell on a more competitive price. And we also make money from the food processors that we engage.
Okay, the food processors pay for your
Yes,
app.
exactly,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, it's kind of a middleman software between the...
Yeah, so it's more or less like bridging the gap. So this is actually the first of its kind in Africa. The good thing is that apart from the platform that are being used by food processors, it is also a data generation point that can be used as a DaaS, data as a service, that can support these companies to also make, so the money will be, it will be sold to these companies as a form of data, and also this money will go back to the farmers.
Okay.
Walk me through the process to get what do you have, 50K in revenue in 2 years, and also 150, or 50, what's your target for number of farmers?
Okay. So we engaged 2 companies last year, and within this year, we have been able to, for the paid pilot, so that is how we've been able to reach our $5,000 currently. And in terms of the 50,000, we expect that even with what we have, because of our 98% retention rate, even with our existing farmer base, we should be able to, every year, we should be able to reach at least, with the 5,000 and with the 15,000 farmers that we expect to get by 2026, if each farmer, 15,000 by $3, that is like $45,000 roughly, and there is also a setup fee of about 1,000. So roughly, we should be able to, even with the existing farmer base, we should be able to reach about $50,000, and that is just a tip of the iceberg in terms of the profits that we can make.
OneBuy is a group purchasing platform designed for SMBs, integrating advanced procure-to-pay features. The platform simplifies business purchases, drastically reducing procurement costs. Pitching for OneBuy is Yahia Rao, an accounting and financial management student from the Faculty of Arts.
Hi, my name is Yahya, and I'm the co-founder of OneBuy. And we're on a mission to help small to medium-sized businesses minimize their procurement costs and unlock their full potential. As of now, there are 1.2 million SMBs in Canada alone, and the number is exponentially larger in the United States. But according to McKinsey, SMBs have 10 times lower net margins compared to larger businesses, and that's primarily due to higher procurement costs. The problem is that SMBs just lack the buying power of larger businesses, which makes it harder for them to get discounts, therefore having higher procurement costs. As an example, let's say SMB number 1 wants to buy 7 widgets for $25 per unit. The larger enterprise that's buying 40, for example, is saving so much money because they can negotiate lower prices. OneBuy is pooling the buying power of multiple SMBs so they can negotiate lower prices, therefore having lower procurement costs. As of right now, the current solution are legacy group purchasing organizations, which are designed exclusively for public sector. And in order to order, it's completely manual, and the onboarding process is very large. This is where OneBuy comes in. OneBuy is the world's first tech-enabled group purchasing platform designed exclusively for small to medium-sized enterprises, enabling them to purchase a monthly subscription to get pre-negotiated contracts for the procurement needs. This provides a huge amount of benefits for buyers, for example, so businesses can get up to 20% off their procurement, also saving time and effort. While talking to businesses, we learned that 95% of them did not know they can save money through group purchasing. On the flip side, this also provides a lot of benefit for suppliers because now they can further tap into the SMB segment with more market penetration, sales volume, and brand awareness. In fact, while talking to one of the largest suppliers in Canada who was interested in OneBuy, they said that they want to focus on SMBs, but it's just not worth their sales effort to go after a business with 10 employees, for example. So OneBuy pulls them all together so they can tap into the segment. With that said, we do understand that the SMB market is huge. As a result, our current beachhead customer are research labs. Because research labs purchase independently, they have high frequency of orders and are always trying to minimize their budgets because of limited funding. So myself, I worked in investment banking on Wall Street, whereas my co-founder did software engineering at a unicorn. So with my business expertise and his technical expertise, we are well positioned to execute. And we want all of you to join us in revolutionizing procurement for SMBs.
Hi, everyone. Hi, judges. My name is Yash. I'm the other co-founder of OneBuy. Happy to answer any questions.
Very cool idea. Excuse me. Now, you mentioned your first customers are researchers, right? But every market, every parts or whatever have different requirements. Some, like looking for short lead times. Some have different requirements. Is there a specific market or specific segment that you guys are targeting right now that fits perfectly what you guys are doing right now?
So we're looking right now at university research labs as well as biotech startups.
But like, are you looking at like reagents? Are you looking at like chips, or what are you looking at to pull?
Yeah, so right now we're building something called a core list, which is a list of all items that these clients are purchasing, like their most frequent purchases. So that can range anywhere from reagents to lab supplies, such as pipettes, flasks, things like that. So yeah.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to understand is they would have bought the widget from somewhere else. You're basically going to make less profit than the company that would have sold it to them anyhow. And so I'm curious how you scale a business against competition who's making higher profits. And then the next question is just around logistics. Like, are you drop shipping? Are you warehousing? Are you trying to pool orders? And, and then just related to that, often there's specialization that's required with certain products. So, usually there's a service side. If something's very specialized, there's a reason why it's specialized. So these are sort of questions I have related to like the sustainability of this business.
Yeah, so we're not going to be actually selling the products directly to the clients. The clients are still going to be buying through the supplier. We're just a middleman between them, representing a large number of clients. And on the logistics side of things, we actually are not going to be handling the shipping or anything like that. We're going to be forming pre-negotiated contracts with suppliers where we're telling suppliers we can guarantee you guys X amount of sales volume per year from our customers that we are bringing to you with no marketing initiative from your end. And so they're going to provide them discounts through us, and they'll just be handling their orders like it's any other order.
So why should they stick with you after their contract's over? Like, what's the recurring revenue afterwards?
Like, why should clients stick with us, or why should suppliers stick with us?
Suppliers.
Well, the suppliers stick with us because the clients can only get the discounts through our platform, which goes to them. So
But like I already know the 100 SMEs or whatever that want to buy this widget. So once I have that information, what makes me want to continue to use your services?
If we look at the current like landscape for like let's just say research chemicals right now, I could tell you like 5 different research companies that are suppliers that are selling the same items. So we're giving suppliers the opportunity to be like to compete with other suppliers in that space by coming through our platform. So we're essentially giving them sales volume and loyalty through our customers without them having to do any work. Otherwise, if they weren't going through our platform, our clients could buy from one of the other competitors in the space.
I have a few seconds. Who are your competitors? Distributors. So now everything I've done a lot of procurement. So you don't buy really directly from supplier, like from manufacturer. You buy it from the distributor, at least for science or lab consumables. How you compete with those giant distributors?
So I wouldn't say we're competing with distributors.
Okay.
If anything, we're competing with other traditional group purchasing organizations that already exist. And our pro is that we are going to be building technology in this space that just improves the onboarding process and just helps our clients with their experience group purchasing.
Okay.
Well, one last question. I guess maybe I missed it. What's your traction like so far?
Pardon me?
What's your traction like? Where are you at?
Yeah, so right now we're just talking with current researchers that go to this university, as well as some small biotech companies. And we're building, like I said before, something called the core list, which is their top items. And then we're going to take these as well as LOIs from our clients to suppliers and tell them, what kind of rates can we negotiate with what we have.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Oscar is an unmanned rescue vehicle that is deployed off boats to autonomously navigate to a person who has fallen overboard, providing ergonomic flotation and both visual and radio location indicators. Welcome to the stage, Gordon Fountain, an undergraduate in the mechatronics engineering program.
Hello. Just after 11 p.m. on October 29th this year, the captain of the Symphony of the Seas cruise ship announces, "Oscar, Oscar, Oscar," the call for a person overboard. A passenger is now left alone in the frigid, pitch-black waters watching their ship sail away. Miraculously, this passenger will be rescued. However, most are not this lucky, as 70% of overboard victims from cruise ships will not survive. Overboard drownings account for over 700 deaths in the US since 2019 and are the leading cause of deaths on cruise ships. Rescue procedures are too slow and ships take too long to stop and turn around to rescue them. And procedures for people on deck involve them just pointing at victims in the water and hoping they don't lose sight of them as the ship turns around. Our answer is Oscar. Oscar is an unmanned marine robot that can drive to the victim in the water using infrared and optical cameras autonomously and provide them ergonomic flotation and buoyancy and peace of mind while the ship is still just stopping and turning around. Designed to be very small and fast, Oscar has a GPS and radio module to transmit its location and guide rescuers to it and the victim in the water, and it can also travel long distances because it is a small vehicle. Unlike other devices that are on the market, it is autonomous, so it does not need any human intervention in getting to the victim, and it can be operated at long distances, unlike life slings and rescue or life buoys. The current market we're targeting is the already over $17 billion search and rescue industry internationally, and we are going to start targeting the over 700 ships in Canada that are managed by Transport Canada, as they spend over $35,000 per ship per year in safety equipment. To get to this market, we are currently building our first prototype, which we'll complete by March of 2024. And following this, we have an agreement with the Canadian Coast Guard to test our system as a pilot program. Once we are at market, we plan to sell the device as a one-time purchase for all the hardware and then an annual cost for the most recent AI models and the most up-to-date software. However, we will never shut off the life-saving functionality. Our team includes 5 mechatronics students with experience in marine robotics, lifeguarding, and sailing, and we are asking for the $5,000 to complete our first prototype and to prepare it through rigorous testing to get it ready for the pilot program. In addition, we want to use that funding to begin the next design iteration, where we would take into consideration the feedback from our pilot program, and we would look to meet all of the regulations for Transport Canada. Thank you. I'm happy to take questions.
Hey, very, very good problem. So question for that 12 minutes that you said before the person drowns,
Yes.
right? Help me break it down in that 12 minutes. Where is it the challenge is finding the victim? Is it getting to the victim? Or what is it before in that 12-minute? Walk me through that.
In the
And
12
what are you actually solving with your robot?
Currently, in those 12 minutes, there's no device that can get to the person within time. Ships take too long to stop and turn around and make rescue procedures where they could like throw a life ring. And for example, cruise ships can take multiple kilometers just to stop. So there's no chance for them to reach them in 10 minutes. The other thing is that life buoys, if you miss your chance right away of throwing them to a victim, then you can't throw them to a victim once you are out of range. They're very short range. There's new technology that's coming out. There's a recent law that passed in 2010 in the US for detection of overboard victims that can detect when they go overboard. And our device would slot in right after this so that it can be deployed autonomously as soon as an overboard is detected.
I actually really like the problem is real and the solution. Tell me a little bit about your sales. So they spend $35,000 per ship for a safety. How much you're gonna sell per unit and how many units per ship is your?
Ideally, we would have 1 unit for smaller ships, and then we would scale up the number of units per ship for larger ships. So that $35,000 is an annual cost. We would look to be a one-time cost for our device and then a much smaller cost. We are looking at $3,000 for the initial device cost and then up to or around $100 for the cost of the subscription for the most recent software. However, this is subject to change following all of the requirements from Transport Canada, as our device still has to go through the pilot.
Good. Thank you.
Just trying to understand the range where Oscar is effective.
For sure.
If it's line of sight from a camera or infrared and there's waves and it's really tiny, I'm having a hard time understanding, like, especially how, like, there's probably some data you have on how far away the person is before this thing can get deployed. And if they're 500 meters away in one random direction off ship, how does Oscar get to them? And then how many of those 749 deaths are you actually effective at stopping?
So for the first question, we have a 2-stage system. First, we take the GPS location of the person as soon as they fall overboard, and that is our kind of course area. So we have a GPS on the device that drives to that position, and then we perform a search pattern in that area so that we have a GPS accurate to 2.5 meters, so we can be very close to them within range of sight, and then we can look through that. As to the 700 number, that 700 was only in 5 years, and there's some debate as to the effectiveness of incoming technology for detecting when people fall overboard. So it is a difficult question to know how many we can affect. However, just having an actual mechanism you can use once somebody has fallen overboard also provides a lot of peace of mind for people who are working on ships.
Okay, but you're dependent on a GPS signal being handed you from something.
Yes. So on board ships, there's a GPS built into the ship. We can either take it from there, or there's also new technology for people to have like bracelets that transmit a GPS location as soon as they leave the vicinity of the boat.
I'm assuming someone, as soon as they fall off, they're like, oh, they fell off. It's not like, there's not a delay, right?
Sometimes there is a delay, and that's very deadly for especially larger ships, because then as soon as you lose sight of them, the current procedure is just looking for them.
We also don't know when they fell off, so you don't have a GPS timestamp, right?
Yes, so that's where we would just have to search with our infrared camera.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
We're now going to take a quick break for intermission. Please help yourself to some pizza and be back here around 6:15 to hear the next group of pitches. We're going to be starting with Pliant Tech. Bathrooms at the far end of the main lobby past the staircase on the left-hand side. Thank you. Welcome back from intermission. We're going to get started. We're going to kick things off with Pliant Tech, who are creating novel mechano-metamaterial spinal implants to provide more natural-like movement in artificial disc replacement. Here to pitch for Pliant Tech is co-founder Jonah Leinwan from the Biomedical Engineering Program.
I'd like everyone in the room here to bend their neck down and then all the way up and stretch it side to side. These are just some of the many complex mechanical motions that occur in the cervical spine, in your neck. Spinal disorders are the #1 cause globally of years lived with disability, and one of the common surgeries to address that is called artificial disc replacement. This occurs when an artificial disc is implanted in the spine in order to restore motion that was lost. Yet, despite this promise of regaining lost motion, reoperation rates for this surgery can range as high as 20%. This is linked to the design of the implants and non-natural mechanical performance. Our solution to this is Pliant Tech. These are compliant metamaterial flexures that we 3D printed here in Waterloo. They provide support, structure, and flexibility in spinal loading conditions to prevent a reoperation from occurring. The 3 key value points that distinguish this from on-market discs are, firstly, we have a design that is actually targeted for additive manufacturing, which means that we waste less materials when we print our device. Secondly, because our design is customizable, and this is included in our provisional patent, we are able to change the position, orientation, and thickness of these flexures to tailor a mechanical profile to a specific anatomy. Lastly, because we are a compliant mechanism, for those who don't know, that means a single piece. There are no surfaces rubbing against each other in order to get the bending that we're looking for, which means we reduce the amount of shear particles sent into the bloodstream, a very common issue in orthopedic implants. The market for disc replacement is growing rapidly. In North America alone, it's valued at just under 500 million, and 15 billion is the total global market for spinal implants. 3 key factors here are working in our favor. Firstly, a large growing body of clinical evidence supporting disc replacement as a surgery leads to more surgeons adapting it. Secondly, governments and insurance agencies are introducing more favorable reimbursement policies with this evidence, making it more financially viable. And lastly, with an increasingly aging population, there is a demand for innovation in this space. Our team consists of myself, a biomedical engineering student, and Professor Stuart McLaughlin in the mechanical engineering department, both with over 2 years of experience on this passion project, both full and part-time. We also have 2 surgeon collaborators, one of whom is the former president of the Canadian Spine Society, and close ties with MSAM, the Additive Manufacturing Lab, here in Waterloo. Over the past 12 months, we've achieved a number of goals, funding related mostly, but what I'm most proud of is having attended the Canadian Spine Society conference earlier this year. I spoke with over 20 surgeons, 2 of which we just added as surgeon collaborators. We'd like the funding to help pay for our full patent next year. Thank you.
So I'm just trying to get some understanding of the numbers here. So let's say there's $500 million of ADR surgeries, assuming they're like 20, 30 grand. So you have 15 to 20,000 of these surgeries a year. What is your part worth?
So what we would be hoping to do is enter that as a competitor or to either sell this technology to an existing disc manufacturing company. Basically, we're creating IP for a new type of disc replacement. And so we would be directly entering that category and directly addressing that market.
What I mean is you pay 20 or 30 grand to walk into an office and have a surgery. There's a part that goes into the person, and then there's surgeons and offices and marketing budgets and all this stuff. So what is the market for the thing?
Okay, so the specific implant that 500 million is referencing, the average disc replacement in the US costs about $15,000 US. That's for the implant itself, not the surgery, not the surgeons.
Okay.
Just the device.
Okay, so those little pieces are 15 grand a pop. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't even know where to start. Good for you for tackling a really big and important problem. Good for you for tackling a problem that is really challenging and takes years to kind of get there. And it seems like you have the right pieces, surgeon collaborators. One thing is, I'm assuming, like you said, right, you want to sell this technology to a large company or manufacturing company. Where are we at there? Have we spoken to them? What are their interest levels?
Sure. So it's not the only pathway, but it's certainly the quickest to profitability. Basically, there are a couple options, most of which involve further testing, which we're already planning on cadaveric studies. And then you have an FDA approvals meeting where you basically present to them your manufacturing methods, your testing, and the materials that you're using. They can then give you basically a thumbs up or thumbs down as to whether they would hypothetically approve this. That package altogether can then be sold to like a device manufacturing company. That may be what we're looking at, but that's at best probably 2 years away.
I know one of the problems for any implant is that they expire or your body rejects it, and that's a very highly cost to the healthcare that people need to go. What is the advantage of your product? People need to replace it in a longer time?
Yeah, so the main thing we're hoping to address is reoperation rates. So it's considered a failed surgery if they have to go in a second time. So the idea is the reasons for that are incredibly complex, but mostly tied to the mechanical design. We think we have a better mechanical design, and that is involved in the compliantness of this mechanism because it's one thing that bends, similar to like a spring bends even though there's no joints. That's what our device is hoping to replicate. And then because it also has no rubbing surfaces, there's no particles going in the bloodstream, risk of infection would hypothetically be much lower.
The material are biocompatible?
These are just titanium alloy.
Okay. You said that your path is that one of the paths that you might take is that to selling this to the big players in the market. Who will do the regulatory like FDA? Because this is, I assume, is a class 3?
It is a class 3 medical device, yeah. So I think I touched on a little bit of that earlier, but the idea is we do some of that legwork beforehand, and that basically increases the hypothetical value of what IP you then sell. Of course, the people who are selling it to patients will still have to conduct their own trials and find their predicate, but these are things that we've already started looking at to help.
Okay, amazing job. That's great. So.
Next, we're going to hear from Quip Medical. This team is making a mobile app that records patient interviews and uses AI to generate focused, personalized summary notes. Please welcome Brian Lee, a biomedical engineering undergraduate student, to the stage.
I want you all to think about the last time you wanted to see a doctor. Chances are you probably had to wait all too long to book an appointment, or maybe you weren't even able to book one at all. And honestly, that checks out because doctors across the country are quitting at an alarming rate, with over 60% experiencing some kind of serious burnout at some point or the other. Now, the reason behind this burnout may surprise you, because it's not actually the stress of treating patients or anything like that, but rather the hours of administrative work that they have to do every single day, particularly that of note-taking for patient interviews, that really takes a toll on these doctors. Now, current solutions in this space are far from perfect. We have human scribes, but these are very, very expensive. And while there are some automated note-taking solutions, we've seen that these solutions just aren't good enough for doctors in their current state. We've heard firsthand from more than 50 Canadian and American doctors that they just aren't using these current solutions, these current automated solutions. And it typically boils down to some combination of 3 factors. 1, integration and setup with medical record systems known as EMRs is simply too complicated. 2, notes aren't being taken the way they need them to be. And 3, frankly, for some of these systems, it's just too expensive and not worth the cost for them. And these are exactly the types of problems that we're looking to address with Quip Medical, a mobile platform that transcribes patient interviews and generates summarized documentation for physicians. Our goal here is to give doctors exactly what they need. which is an automated note-taking solution with their preferred style, structure, and vocabulary, all without all of the barriers and troubles of EMR integration that come with other solutions that currently exist. But that's not all we have. That's not all we have in store for you today. You see, we've noticed that rural physicians are largely unable to adopt existing products, despite expressing a very strong need. And that's why we look to target these rural physicians in our initial rollout, which will allow us to gain traction in a market that is otherwise largely unrepresented with respect to current solutions. For a monthly subscription cost of $200 per doctor, this puts us in the middle of a $3 billion market across just the US and Canada alone. And remember, that's just a starting point. The connections that we make with these rural clinicians will allow us to further expand our sphere of influence, first to associated rural community hospitals and academic institutions, and then subsequently boosting expansion into urban centers. Built off of years of experience in medtech, AI, and clinical work, our team is continuing to gain momentum, and funding that we get now will help us to overcome the hurdle of regulatory approval by helping to support the costs of audits. Now, in just a matter of months, we've already built out an MVP and have conducted beta testing interviews. And looking forward, we have 2 pilots scheduled with clinics in Ottawa and Marathon, Ontario for February of the coming year. We at Quip are striving to bring effective administrative support for all doctors, and we hope that you can join us on our journey to reduce physician burnout.
Who are your competitors?
Yes, of course. So I'm going to go back and show you a couple of their logos here, but our competitors are basically predominantly some of the prior automated note-taking solutions in the space, and here we go. So we have some bigger players, for example, Epic, which has recently acquired Nuance. Of course, Epic is basically the leading EMR provider in the US. Yep. They also have a very big presence in Canada. They've acquired Nuance, which is now a very big and well-represented automated note-taking solution. Some smaller players, Mutuo Health, DeepScribe. Okay. Augmetics is another bigger player. But essentially, the things that we're noticing with these competitors is one of the big issues with rural doctors in particular is that these providers just aren't supporting the EMRs that they need. For example, rural doctors may not be on Epic, they may not be on like Cerner, for example, like any of these other big providers, and existing solutions really rely on this. They literally can't function without it. Okay. And that's definitely one of the things that we look to address here.
Is your solution to serve doctor office or hospitals?
So our solution basically serves any practicing physicians, but our goal is to, of course, sell to the buyer. So if for example, we're looking at hospitals, that would likely be a later target for us, mostly due to path to market. But in that case, yeah, we would be looking to sell to hospitals, but in the rural case, we're looking to start with smaller like clinical practices.
Clinics, yeah.
We're looking to start with that, yes.
Okay.
Why aren't the rural doctors using these competitors right now? And why should they use yours product?
Of course. So one of the big things is just that compatibility element. It's legitimately impossible for them to use these because they actually don't support the EMRs that a lot of our rural clinicians are on. So for example, if they're not on Epic, they're not on Cerner, they're not on some of these like bigger EMRs, they physically cannot integrate it in their system. So one thing that we're actually doing is we're not going through this process of EMR integration, which will allow these rural doctors to use it regardless of what EMR they're using. Additionally, I do want to mention that our personalized style to note-taking is different from the very structured styles that these solutions use, and that allows us to be more adaptable to these rural physicians that have to see a wider variety of patients with a wide variety of illnesses without having all of these specialties basically around in the area, since they have to treat a lot more people with basically all of these common ranges of things.
So you said you don't have to integrate with the EMRs that the rural doctors are using. You also in your pitch said that one of the reasons they're not using note-taking is because they don't integrate with the EMR as well, which makes it sound like it's helpful if it integrates with the EMR. So can you just close that gap for me and maybe walk me through why it's really great for a rural doctor?
For sure, for sure. So the general process involves this kind of, if you see last year, there's this open and EHR thing. So there's typically these existing solutions allow you to just push directly to the EMR. However, we've noticed that although this provides I'd say some small degree of satisfaction in having that step be automated, what we're basically doing is just omitting this last step of that automated pushing, but that allows us to avoid all of the setup and all the integration that comes with having to just set up these systems with their EMRs, and also, of course, opens it up if EMRs aren't actually supported. So for our workflow, this would basically just allow them to copy paste to their clipboard. And we know from our experience talking to many doctors that they all have to have their EMRs open anyways, because they have to reference the notes from previous clinical interviews, notes from their charts, et cetera. So because of the fact that we know that they would have these systems open anyways, if we allow a very simple interface that basically simplifies the process as much as possible without this automated pushing, we still estimate a very fast and reduced workflow.
Great job. Next is the team from Rex, an online interactive dance platform that bridges learning gaps for beginner dancers by offering guidance with step-by-step instructions, dance challenges, personalized lessons, and constructive feedback. Here to pitch for the team is Logan Bonsall from the Biomedical Engineering program.
Dance. The music, the movement, the magic. It's so enticing, but every time I try to learn, I fail miserably. This is me at a dance class. I'm in the back, I'm all confused, and let's be honest, I'm a hot mess. Group dance classes are extremely flawed. There is no personalization, everyone is at a different level, and it's really hard to, well, bust it down, especially if you're just starting out. And don't even get me started on private dance classes. If I were to take just one private dance class a week, I would spend over $5,000 in a year. Sure, there are some options out there, like YouTube tutorials or online dance platforms. However, they're very saturated, and it's hard to pinpoint exactly what you're looking for. I don't know about you, but I've been fed up, so I decided to take matters into my own hands. Enter Rex, the future of dance. Rex is an AI dance coach that basically focuses on 3 pillars for its teaching methodologies. The first is foundations and fundamentals for beginners. The second is mind-body coordination and repetition. And the third and most important is personalized feedback through AI analysis. Currently, there is nothing on the market that actually provides personalized feedback to users so that they can improve on their dance moves. Beginners have to jump through countless hoops in order to battle the huge learning curve that comes with dance. I've read countless research studies and understood exactly what a beginner needs on their journey when they're starting out and integrated that directly into Rex. Waterloo is the perfect hub to start. Every day on campus, there's hundreds of students participating in dance classes all over, and they're all eager beginners, just like myself. By having access to prime users such as this, I can take Rex and put it in cities worldwide with a total addressable market of over $10 billion. By charging a monthly subscription, building a social media community, and partnering with different dance studios, Rex is headed directly for the road to profitability. So far in my journey, I've talked to over 25 beginner dancers and 5 dance instructors to validate the problem. 50 people have already signed up for the early access to Rex. I've also built a social media community of 100 people who are all interested in the dance space, not to mention the $50 already committed for people interested in testing out some of the beginner dance lessons. Right now, I'm developing an MVP that focuses on 10 foundational dance moves that beginners can test out and get feedback on through AI. With 5K, I can take this to the next level by working with high-quality equipment and professional dance instructors. So come join me in my journey to bring joy to people's lives through the power of dance. Thank you. I'll take questions.
Yeah. I mean, if I could turn off all the people trying to teach their boyfriends how to do dances on social, I would love it. But clearly, there's a pretty big need here, or at least a lot of interest. And clearly, I think social would hit for you guys if you can do that right. But I'm really interested how big this market actually is. Like how many people are paying money now, and just have you looked at the market? Can you talk me through the numbers there? How much people pay, what the retention is, what are the age groups they will pay for dance lessons, how that degrades over time? Because I think it's like, as you get older, less and less people are paying, and it's like, so explain to me the demographics and the money that goes into dance now.
Yeah, for sure. So some of our biggest competitors include platforms like Steezy. So they typically charge a monthly subscription of around $20, and they've got over 1 million users. They've also got like a variety of dance lessons, but basically the main thing that they're lacking is that personalized feedback element. And so a lot of the people that I've talked to in just user interviews or primary research kind of agree with the fact that it's still very hard to follow, despite there being sort of like this large availability for online dance classes. Additionally, I've looked at some like dance studios and just statistics around that, and dance studios actually have been losing customers around 40% per year. And so clearly there's sort of like this gap for beginners who don't necessarily want to come back because of this whole lack of feedback and intimidation factor.
Sorry, just to be clear, that competitor, Steezy, I don't know if I got that right.
Yeah,
But,
sorry. So
but-
Steezy, just to explain, is like an
No,
online dance platform.
Yeah, sorry, my question is the 20, so $1 million, or sorry, 1 million users, $20 a month, like 1 million paying users or 1 million users?
1 million paying users.
Okay, thanks.
Help me understand why you picked dance as the market that you're going after, because I'm looking at this technology that you're going to build, all of this product. I'm curious on, like physio, rehab, those type of things where same technology, same product, but then there's much more. I guess the customer would need it more. There's insurance. There's a lot more money into those type of markets. So just curious on why you picked dance as the market to go into.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely other technologies or areas where something like this has been implemented. So like you mentioned, physio or fitness. However, the reason I picked dance is because recreational and wellness activities are actually a really big up-and-coming sector, and there's been sort of a lot of investment into those areas, and people are generally starting to care more about their wellness. And there's been a lot of studies done where dance actually helps reduce things like depression or anxiety, and so it's a really good outlet for people to do physical exercise or for their wellness activities. So that's basically why I decided to pick this area.
Quick question about the social aspect. So the pictures that you're showing the students dancing, it seemed like a little big reason on the community. Yeah, they want to be, but you kind of isolate them. You bring them back, they practice alone. And how you still build a community, and then still, the goal is that people get more confident and go back into group dancing?
Yeah, so another perspective that I've thought about integrating is basically by partnering with dance studios, this can almost be used as like a supplementary tool for people who, let's say, go into a dance class but want to work on their own dance skills on the side. They can sort of use this as a tool for improvement, so they still have that sort of social community from going to the dance classes itself. Plus, as the user base grows, I definitely want to incorporate aspects of community or things like gamification to basically actually excite the user and engage them instead of simply just like isolating them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
SpinStop is working at increasing the safety and efficiency of helicopter rescue operations by stabilizing rescue subjects during the hoisting process. Pitching for SpinStop will be Samuel Roberge, Arnott from Mechatronics Engineering.
I'd like to take you on a journey. Imagine you're on a boat in the ocean, or skiing on a great snowy mountain, or hiking in the Canadian outback. But in a dramatic turn of events, you injure yourself and find yourself in need of helicopter rescue. But this does not always go smoothly. What we're seeing here is way too common in the world of search and rescue. Uncontrolled spin means nausea, wrist and ankle injuries, and additional risk and complexity for rescuers. For rescue subjects, this can increase the severity of their injuries and has led to legal action against the municipalities and organizations performing the rescues. So, the Canadian Armed Forces perform 9,000 rescue missions each year, 1,000 of which result in the deployment of rescue helicopters. Globally, the search and rescue market is valued at $1.9 billion. The rescue equipment segment is expected to grow the fastest in this sector at over 6% a year until 2030. Independent market analysis attributes this growth to the demand for lower operational cost and robust, high-end equipment for reduced risk during search and rescue operations. Search and rescue teams need simple, effective, and reliable tools to meet the challenges of their demanding environment. At SpinStop, our mission is to improve the safety and efficiency of helicopter rescue operations by completely eliminating all spin seen by the rescuer. We are doing this by bringing proven aerospace-grade technology to the rescue industry in the form of a reaction wheel. This device can be quickly connected between the rescuer and the hoist hook, increasing safety for both the rescuer and rescue subject. This device will be introduced as a low-volume, high-margin equipment for the private rescue industry and subsequently to government bodies in both Canada and the US. Velocity's 5K funding will help with the construction of a first-generation device based on a proof of concept made in the last few months. Our compact and reliable system will unburden rescuers and simplify rescue missions, which means more people getting home safe. Speaking of people, this is our fantastic team with expertise across all relevant disciplines of engineering, as well as advisors who have served as helicopter pilots and rescue technicians in the US Coast Guard, the Canadian Armed Forces, as well as the private rescue industry. In your time of greatest need, rescuers will have your back. Now, it's time to have theirs. Thank you.
I mean, good job, important problem, big problem for sure to tackle. I'm I don't know what your solution is. You mentioned reaction wheel. Walk me through what your solution is, and also compared to, pardon my ignorance, but, why haven't people solved this already with 2 chords, for example, or a simple solution why do they have to use your specific solution?
Right on. So our solution, like I said, it's a reaction wheel. Without getting too technical, it's a device that's already been used on satellites for the control of their orientation. And so essentially what you're doing is you're spinning a wheel really fast and reacting against that inertia to then spin you or everything else the other direction. And the reason this hasn't been solved is because right now there are only good practices that exist, whether it's having a tagline that's connected to the rescuer or the basket, the victim, or good practices that include starting forward flight. And while these do help the problem, they don't provide a blanket solution that's useful in all scenarios.
What's the natural sales channel here? Do you go with like the basket manufacturers or like?
For sure. So we're going to target the private rescue industry first, and we're really going to go direct to consumer with this. We've already talked to lots of the private rescue helicopters, and they've expressed interest in really demoing our product. And then after that, we'll be able to go to the government bodies, which do require more certification and validation, but we also have contacts in the industry that have expressed interest. Yeah, for sure. So this is going to be a completely automated system. There should be no input from the rescuer or the technician that is up in the helicopter doing the hoisting. It should be completely autonomous, and really any failure of the device will default right back to the standard state of them having spin. Yeah, so the device should be the same regardless of the environment. It really just needs to be tailored for the payload that is being hoisted. So like the weight of the person. But this is something that will spec to the maximum possible weight that a helicopter can hoist. Yeah, especially for government bodies in Canada and the US, they do have these kind of engineering bodies that do the qualification for all the products that get onto the helicopters. But this is something that is easily done. Yeah, we hope so. Thank you.
Great job. Right here. Our final pitch for tonight will be from Student Mustache. Their business simplifies student moving needs by picking up their belongings, storing them on a per-item basis, and delivering them back after co-op periods and summer terms. Pitching for Student Mustache is Santiago Borraquez Alvarez from the Global Business and Digital Arts program in the Faculty of Arts.
Hey everybody. Hey, moving is hard. Finding storage is even harder. Now imagine you're an international student having to move back and forth from Waterloo every 4 months for your co-op terms and summer breaks. Just think about the stress you gotta go through when you realize you haven't figured out your move-out situation and you have 6 different exams to study for. You call every storage unit around, and all the ideal units are all taken. You end up with one that might as well be a warehouse. In average, students pay around $150 a month for storage alone, plus the transportation, and it takes them at least 5 hours of logistics just to get everything set up. Student Mustache is Uber for storage. We pick up your belongings, store them while you're away, and deliver them back when you're ready. It's $8 per box and $8 a month. And our service is ready to service not only the students, but everybody and anybody. So far, we've made over $5,000 in revenue since we started in February. We have acquired our customers by organic marketing campaigns, flyers, and word of mouth. We also reach our targeted demographic with our social media with over 20,000 likes. And we expect our customer lifetime value to be over 5 years. The self-storage market is huge, with $29 billion in North America, which is 14.6 million households using storage, with an annual growth of 3.5%. In Waterloo, there are 42,000 students at the University of Waterloo alone. And in Canada, there are over 800,000 students, international students, that we're targeting as of right now. Student Mustache is competing against legacy storage facilities, which offer security and tradition. The Stash offers convenience, which with our pickup, storage, and delivery, customer satisfaction with our easy-to-use website, where you can book, you can cancel bookings, and you can also reschedule them. And we offer the same security that other storage facilities offer. Our team is Felipe, my brother, he's a co-founder, and myself, Santiago, also a co-founder. Please join us on storage with Student Mustache. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Felipe. I'm answering the questions.
Cool. Thanks. Good job. I mean, you have okay, so now we're into revenue. Break down the unit economics, right? If I'm a customer, right, and I have, let's call it 20 boxes I want to store with you, how much money, where break down the unit economics and how much are you actually making from me as a customer?
Right. So just to give you a bit of context, traditional storage businesses, they need a 45% occupancy to break even. The way we minimize it on our side is we control it so that the storage that the facility that we have, we only need a 30% of occupancy to break even, and after that is all profits.
Why?
Right, so it comes down to, it's pretty much the same as buying in bulk and then selling individually. So we rent a space we rent a bigger space, and then we divide it and maximize it to fit as many students as possible. So that gives us an advantage to be able to have the margins. So if it costs us X money to rent the cubic feet of this facility, we will actually charge 8 times more per cubic feet to customers, but it's still a competitive pricing. So for your 20 boxes, you would be looking, we are renting the storage at $8 per box. You are looking at $160 per month. Easily, that at a storage facility, you will be charged anywhere from $175 to $200 for the same space, but you would have to do all the heavy lifting yourself.
I get it. It makes sense. It's like you're like AWS for boxes. Like it's a multi-tenant model. So does this work outside of co-op students or normal regular students? So that's one question, because obviously it's a huge market if you can get someone to store their crap somewhere, but from what I see, it just ends up in people's garages and closets and basements. So I'm curious if you can transition out of this sort of co-op model or student summer school term model. And then, so that's one question. And then just related, what's the average like basket size? Like how many boxes are people storing?
Thank you. So for your first question, to go outside the student market at this point, we're trying to focus on the student market because it's large alone by itself. We're talking about 800,000 international students in Canada. If we can service 5% of that, that would be quite a lot already. We do plan to scale outside of students. the way we're going to achieve this is it's a bit complex because when you go outside of students, you encounter people that owns vehicles. They can move stuff themselves. But still the convenience, it's quite important, and everything nowadays, any convenience that you can get, you'll choose that. The way we try to go out of the students will be by just offering the same service to young professionals, for example. And we actually have the option of having an office where people can drop in their belongings. And in that sense, we will have a bit of a larger approach to people that have cars, that they don't need the pickup and delivery option. And you had a second question. Sorry, could you repeat the question for me?
It was average order size, like 10 boxes, 20 boxes.
Right. From the 20 customers we've served successfully, as of right now, the average is between 80 to 120 per month. That's the price they pay. And it's based in volume. They don't always have boxes. Sometimes it's garbage bags full of clothes. And sometimes it's a bed frame. So we go by volume, but if you want to divide it by boxes, that's about, yeah, it's easily about 10 boxes.
I got it.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you to all of the teams who pitched here tonight. We hope to see you all back here tomorrow at the same time for round 2. And remember, the finals will be held on Thursday, November 30th in the Modern Languages building in the Theater of Arts from 12 until 2:30. Thank you again to our judges. For everyone who wants to attend the next 2 events, please register at the link on the screen. And for all of the teams who pitched, feel free to take your posters in the hallway. Thank you again to everyone for being here tonight. Great job to all of the teams. Have a great night.
On the rubric, it's interesting because